Hello and welcome to the Convoy podcast, dedicated to our gym, Convoy Strength, where we promote strength, integrity, respect, and unity. My name is Eric, your host, alongside Taras Chavara, the owner, founder, and director of Convoy Strength, located here in San Diego, California. How are you doing today, Taras?
Hey, Eric, I'm good. Thanks for doing another podcast here. The first one was a great success. I was really excited with our last interview with Zach. Today we have another really special guest, Melissa with UpLift Law. She has been the attorney behind kind of Convoy Strength for a while now, but especially tackling on this whole COVID pandemic. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So Melissa, we want to kind of just start with an introduction and tell us about yourself as far as, you're a little bit about your history in small businesses and powerlifting. I've known you for a long time, actually way back from when you were just competing. So tell us about your kind of history in that and how you've grown into being your own firm.
Oh, man. Okay. So I have been in the game, meaning I've been an attorney exclusively dealing with business litigation and employment litigation for a little over 9 years. And I had birthed UpLift Law 2 years ago. December 1st, 2018. But prior to beginning this law firm, which is, I'm going to make like a distinction between a lot of firms, like a lot of attorneys who just have a solo prop and they just kind of say law offices of blank blank. I legitimately wanted to start a woman-led, woman-founded law firm. And so prior to UpLift Law, which is like a double entendre, maybe even triple entendre, I had been in 4 big law firms, and I quit all of them because I was just like, I hate the way that the partners, who are all men, did the hierarchy and kind of just like were all about the money and less about the client and nickel and diming, and it was just like always turnover. So there would always be like a honeymoon period with these law firms. And then I think the last law firm I was in, I just was like, you know what, I'm done. And it was like, I think before Thanksgiving. And then, I had no severance, nothing, final paycheck, whatever. And that kind of goes to my love of small businesses, because during this time in our demographic, on the business standpoint, the barriers for entry to starting any business are so low. And literally all you need is a lot of fucking guts, a lot of like focus, internet, and a phone, and you can kill it. So UpLift Law was founded on the premise of doing everything I freaking hated, like doing the opposite, and just kind of inspiring and moving women to do the same, because I practice a very male-dominated field, business. And even to date, there are not a lot of female business attorneys, not a lot of legitimate business law firms made by women, run by women. And we are just celebrating a little bit over 2 years. And, one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that we've been green and we just keep growing. So UpLift Law was named because the way that we represent is uplifting whomever comes through our doors. And we provide that white glove service, that concierge service, without the designer prices. Because I don't believe in that. The whole 90 to 95% of my clients are all small business owners, as you know. And it's all about being with that business owner through all stages, from startup to expansion, to killing it, to more expansion. And no matter where you are in the life of your business, we're going to be there. So our retainer, our prices, they don't move. Whether you're starting out or you're really expanding, it's all the same. So we uplift that client. And, like you had mentioned, I'm a lifter. So the way that I met you back in 2015 was at a point in my life when I had just embraced, fitness, because I had been, I believe, I think the term is morbidly obese. So my stats are I'm 4'10" and I'm 116 pounds right now. That's how I walk around. But I think around 2013, 2014, I was 180 pounds. I had high cholesterol. I was diabetic. Literally, I was not going to live past 30 because I was so fucked up health-wise. And then, that was based upon the fact that when, you're in law school, I just kind of was focused. I'm 35 now, but I'm actually relatively young in my industry because I had just moved through college, moved through law school, moved through passing the bar. And of course that had a detrimental effect on my health. And this is kind of why the love I have for micro gyms is based upon, it's so personal to me. So I shed all that weight, and that wasn't some weird ass diet, weird ass shit, whatever. I legit did CrossFit. I hired a nutritionist, did my macros. I changed it into lifestyle. CrossFit introduced me to powerlifting. And then, I met you, and then I fell in love with powerlifting through CrossFit. And then I was like, well, hey, I'm pretty strong. I lost all this weight based on just hard work. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing in life is a shortcut. And so I was remember, I was when I met you, I was oh, how do I become really good? And you're oh, you just compete. And it's crazy to see pictures of me and you through my competitive time, where I started at USPA and then worked my way up to international elite in the 52 kilo class. And then I moved to USAPL under Zach Bartel. And then I made it all the way to the national level, 7th in the nation at the 52 kilo class. And so, yeah, it's been quite a ride. But I think that's why, based on all the stuff that I've gone through, why this law firm is such a advocate for the fitness community, for strength, for micro gyms in general, because of how essentially I grew up. So there's that background.
That's very powerful, Mel. I mean, that's a very empowering story, and that's exactly why I wouldn't want anybody else supporting the legal battles that Convoy Strength has gone through, just because I know how much of a fighter you are, and you don't back down. You don't back down from a challenge, and you're willing to put everything on the line and fight for what you believe in. And there's a personal stake to you, and that's that's why I'm super, super grateful that you have kind of represented Convoy Strength. So I want to dive into this whole lawsuit that we're ongoing right now in the middle of this pandemic. What do you want to tell our viewers right now as far as why we're doing this?
Wow. That's such a loaded question, because a lot of people first of all, we're so proud, we have, I think, 30 plaintiffs divided into 3 lawsuits. And the only reason for the division is because in federal court, you have to file suit based upon jurisdiction, but everybody is essentially the same. So this is the largest multi-plaintiff lawsuit in California, and I believe in the nation. And this happened because in March, there was that shutdown. And then, the ones that got affected and are still affected most strangely, worse than any other non-essential, I would argue, are the micro gyms. And I coined that. So for everybody out there, micro gyms, it's whatever the discipline, but not global, right? Because, like the part of the argument is like when you have a 24-hour fitness, when you have an LA Fitness, a Crunch or whatever, they're massive. They maintain so many members. They're in and out. Like I talk about like a micro gym that's very focused. That's very communal. And so when these shutdown orders occurred, I was just like, well, like, fuck no, like we cannot just have an arbitrary label. And then these are like, people don't realize sometimes that micro gyms like Convoy, like SoCal, like yoga, like all the other fitness plaintiffs and also my fitness clients are like, they're mom and pop, essentially. Like it's just like a restaurant, but in the fitness realm. And we get no love. And it's like, why? There's just, so this happened, this lawsuit was a long time in the making. And I waited to kind of see where all these orders were going and what effects they were having. So that's why, we were keeping all of you guys open in the craziest manner. Of course, like that's proprietary to this firm. And we're so proud to have consistently kept and saved, I don't know, upwards like 30 to 35 gyms up and down California, excluding those plaintiffs in the 3 lawsuits. And so the theory behind the lawsuits that you're a part of is that, okay, Newsom, like, you're going to do what you're going to do. You're the government, you're going to like wield the power and do all this, like all these orders. Right. But like the problem with what you've done is that you have this crazy power, but you've not like really defined or give guidance regarding like the labeling of non-essentials versus non-essentials and how all the state and the cities are supposed to enforce these orders. So this lawsuit is about the unconstitutionality of how arbitrary and capricious those orders are and how it's been applied up and down California. And we've seen it because, 30 of these plaintiffs are all from California. They've gotten the same kind of damage, the same kind of harassment, the same craziness. So right now, Convoy Strength is part of what we call the Southern District Complaint, which encompasses our San Diego County plaintiffs. That's actually going to be, I think a hearing will likely happen February. Right now, our Eastern plaintiffs, which are in the Solano and Sacramento counties, they're actually up for hearing mid-January. And the state, the county, and the cities that are the defendants in that lawsuit have filed multiple motions to dismiss that this firm is opposing, like, I believe 4 or 5. So that's why we're really busy. And their whole defense is that, that we've done this for the public health, we've done this for the public interest, science, but like no, legitimately in these briefs from the attorneys representing the defendants, they do cite science. However, our defense is like, okay, but like you are saying science, but like nowhere in this brief is there like science. Like you can't just say science and then that's it.
Yep.
So we're blessed right now because when the shutdown orders occurred, the government was winning a lot of cases. But now that we're able to use like plaintiff cases, like things are changing for the better, right? Like we had this massive win in Los Angeles County an LA judge said, hey, this is like, there's no backing to close the LA restaurants from operating outdoors. Like there's no like evidence. So at the end of Newsom's latest shutdown order, I believe it ends like on the 30th. LA restaurants can now like open up outdoors, and that just like shows, right? Like it shows just how arbitrary things are. You know, like for the gyms right now, all the gyms are required to open outdoors, but like in the beginning, Newsom said, hey, gyms, you are like non-essential, but all of a sudden, I think it was July, now you're essential. However, you're essential, but only to open in this way. So it's like, okay, like, what are we doing? Like, this is just like, this is insanity. So long story short, that's kind of like what we're fighting over. And we have our first hearing on that first complaint coming up next month.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Melissa. I mean, that's so the people that are watching this that might be thinking that we're being reckless. We're just following the science and the data. It's not that we're trying to stay open despite us being a threat. I mean, even when I was audited by the health code inspector, I mean, they told me that my type of business is not a threat. They told me this specifically to my face. They said that we know you're not this is not the business that's spreading this the virus. It's the bigger businesses, the bigger gatherings, and just people being reckless in general, not the businesses. However, it's a lot easier to control a business than it is to control mass population, right? So I don't think we're being reckless. And what would you say to the people that might, kind of have opposed what we're doing and saying that we are being reckless and that we're being defiant? What would you say to that?
That is so, I mean, no, short answer is like, no, you are not being reckless. And part of like our argument and my argument that I've made consistently to county and city officials to keep you guys open is that thing. It's like, you're not being reckless. Literally the stats that have been put out by the state, by the counties, are that like the gyms have a very like some fractional percentage in increasing or spreading COVID, and it just logically, it makes no sense. Like, how is it? And I'm borrowing or like I'm literally stealing from the county of San Bernardino. Just filed its own lawsuit against the governor on Monday. And I know that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I know this because the attorney representing the county of San Bernardino called me up and was like, hey, like, can we join forces? You got this like lawsuit. You've sued the county. I'm the attorney. Like, we're fighting the same battle, like, you really want the state. And so I was like, I listened to her. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And she shared with me a lot of like powerful arguments they're making against the state, and one of them is like, how is it that we can be, shoulder to shoulder at a Walmart or a Target or whatever, but like a person cannot sing inside a church, or a person cannot like get on a treadmill inside, a gym to like work on their cardiovascular health. Like, people are essentially becoming worse off without accessibility to what micro gyms provide, which is not just like meathead shit or bulking shit or whatever. It's literally like a suicide prevention. It's an emotional outlet. It is everything.
Yeah, you're so right on that. And it's something that's super controversial right now. Nobody wants to talk about the general, and I see it based on my other job that I'm working that I can't really talk about too much, but the mental health part, I mean, the suicide attempts, they're through the roof. I mean, I haven't seen a single number mentioned about suicide, about addiction, mental health, depression. Alcohol sales are like 3 times what they were. I mean, it's insane. The mental health of this nation is declining. And if we don't address it, that'll be the next. I mean, it already is a pandemic. I mean, the suicide numbers alone are extremely, extremely concerning, and they're only going to get worse. And just as you said, gyms are a huge outlet. They save people's lives. I know that for a fact. I've had so many members and clients tell me personally that it's literally an outlet for them. It's the only thing that's been kind of their saving grace in a lot of their mental declines that they've experienced over the years.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, like, I don't know if I clearly made mention of this because you asked, like, are you being reckless? No, like, we do not. Like, if you are under this firm, we ensure that you're not being reckless. Like, what you're doing is following the heightened standards provided by the CDC, like heightened sanitation, heightened whatever. Like, at the end of the day, like, people forget you have choice, because you are a business owner and you are doing what you can to keep your place safe and sanitary and follow, like, data and whatever else is out there. People have a choice, right? Like, if you want to patronize the facility, go ahead. Like, if you don't, then, fine too. Just make a choice and you move forward. So this firm does not represent micro gym owners who are reckless. We just know. And there are those out there that just like pack it in, are like taking advantage of, the fact that some are just either out of business or, shut down. And so we don't represent those types of facilities. And a lot of people are a lot of the public doesn't realize, like, what would you have our business owners do? Like, when the shutdown happened, like, this firm was scrambling, as you know, Taurus, like, to get everybody alone. But that's not available now. And like, also, people don't realize, like, on the commercial lease end, commercial landlords have no control, like, they have no like restraints. They can go ahead and sue you for arrears for shutting down. They can start the eviction process. Doesn't mean that you're going to get, out in the streets, but like, they're able to do that. And the general public doesn't realize, like, businesses are really hit hard. Small businesses are hit hard. We don't have money, because believe me, when money was available for my clients, we were there pushing them to get it. Like, money is not available now. So like, what would you have these people do? Would you really just have them like go out of business and not feed their employees, not feed their families, not provide, the community that all the members cherish and need? And it's like, I don't know, the Karens or they're just like not wanting to have that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. We need to have a logical conversation as far as there has to be some more guidance, right? I mean, if we got to look at businesses individually and say, okay, is this what they're doing? Is that a threat? Or are they operating safely? And if they're operating safely and they're providing an essential service, which, I mean, I still believe, I know I'm biased, but I think fitness is essential. 100% is essential. I mean, it's been proven years and years how important it is, not only for our physical health, but our mental health as well. But if we can do it safely, why shouldn't we be allowed to do so, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we make that argument that in general, literally, like, I've gotten so many calls, like, how do I officially become essential? Well, I'm sorry, like, when Newsom made that categorization, it wasn't like he established a little office where you could get stamped. Like, that never happened. I know, it's like freaking crazy. He literally just was like, all right, you're essential, you're non-essential, go forth. So it's like it's a very interesting time for business lawyers, because we're literally having to cobble to advocate based upon like no set laws, no set guidance. And really, when you say like you are essential, that argument can be made just by virtue of the fact that we don't even have like standards for that. Mm-hmm. Like I legitimately don't have like, okay, like any other law, like if you like say like this person is is a murderer. Well, there's a law that says like, how are you a murderer? Like, I literally cannot go and find elements to guide me in classifying essential versus non-essential. I have to go by whatever like Newsom has put out there as like examples. But you go into what he has said, like there's health and there's health essential businesses. And so we argue that, based upon this firm's proprietary process, we've reclassified you the way that we've seen Newsom classify.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen it kind of across the whole country as far as what the word, I mean, you have to define the word essential, right? And it seems like on a national scale, the word essential means something different than on a state level and at a county level. And it's, it comes down to essential to who, right? I mean, and a business may be essential to the business owner's family. The business might be essential to the community. I mean, it's such an open topic, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as you had mentioned, there's no speak of the word essential anywhere in the law.
Yeah. So it's definitely, this work is not for the faint of heart. It is constant in general, like pre-COVID, like business doesn't sleep. It especially doesn't sleep for the small business owner. But now it's like a very insane time because we don't know what's going to happen ever.
Yeah. And that's really, unfortunately, that's kind of, it comes with the territory of running any kind of business. Is there's always going to be, you never know what's going to come up. Me and Eric were just talking about it this morning. We had a shipment coming in. It's like, you can plan for things, but nothing ever goes as planned, and you just have to kind of roll with the punches and just think quick on your feet and adapt and grow and keep moving forward. Right.
Yeah.
All right, Melissa, I mean, we've had a lot of really good topics here. We talked about some heavy content, some controversial topics. Hopefully it helped shed some light on a lot of these issues that I know a lot of people have questions on. Eric, do you have anything else that you want to add in before we wrap it up?
Honestly, I think we talked about a lot of really important things that especially people need to kind of definitely have that shift in understanding that, small businesses, no matter what the size, no matter what they offer, what they do in their own right, they're essential to that business owner, to that family, to those employees and the surrounding community. I think it's really important that people definitely realize that you can't just slap essential on anything and everything, of course, but how that word means to the different businesses that are being affected, especially those businesses like the restaurants and some of these other smaller businesses. It's really, really important that we try to define it the best we can. I want to kind of pivot away from really this topic and more onto something that's going to be a little bit more of a softer tone for the end. I know that you did an amazing toy donation drive, Melissa, for Riverside Area Rape Crisis Center. And I would love to hear more about that and that process, because it's definitely something that is actually doing really good this year for those people that need it. So I'd love to hear what your firm has done to really help those people in need down there.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, no matter where you are on the political spectrum related to COVID, at least we can all agree that there is a vulnerable population out there, like the kids. I don't know, like nobody's really talking about like what happens to the kids. Do they all just like get held back a year? I fucking don't know. Like, so, and we're proud to have a pro bono client, a nonprofit. So I have been counsel for this nonprofit for a little over a year. And, it's also like I want to inspire law firms to get a nonprofit. We really don't. And it's like sad because you don't get anything as a law firm from having a pro bono client. It's just doing good. And so we positioned ourselves to be like, okay, well, RARCC is this nonprofit that provides free resources for women who have been abused and the aftermath. So it's an extremely vulnerable population, and Riverside is vast and just kind of like a very mixed demographic. It's rural, it's underdeveloped in some parts are like thriving. It's very, very strange. And so we have been able to, we've had multiple UpLift Law hubs throughout Southern California, bringing in toys for this nonprofit. And actually, one of our entrepreneur clients donated like $2,000 worth of toys over there. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like what you do when, like shit is this bad and uncertain. You just need to kind of like remember who has it worse and what are we doing about it. And, like we really can't celebrate the way that we all want to celebrate with our Christmas parties and our gatherings or whatever, but at least we can just do something because, I mean, if you remember being a kid, no matter what it was, like it was so exciting to open something up on Christmas, whatever, and so that's what the outreach is for.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you're spot on. We must, as we continue to grow ourselves, we have to keep giving back to the community. And something that, I was kind of discussing with Eric, we really got to tackle that in 2021 is to find ways that we can give back. And we've already been finding charities that we can contribute to. We had a really successful food drive, and we've also partnered up with you as well to accept donations for the toy drive. So as moving forward, you're going to see a lot more of that. So, hopefully we can get more businesses involved and we can kind of work together and, who can we help? Who really needs it? Who needs it the most? I mean, everybody needs help, right? But who are those people that are, like you said, are vulnerable and, maybe they need a little more assistance?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that really wraps up most of what the topics we had written down. If there's anything else you guys want to ad lib on before we wrap up this podcast, I do want to throw in a shameless plug. If you are watching the podcast on YouTube and you see any merchandise, including the hats, the beanies, or the shirts that we're wearing, these can all be found on our website, convoystrength.com. Go over to the shop tab and pick yourself up some sick merch.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Melissa, for coming on and chatting with us.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Until next time. See you later.
Bye.